Hey everybody, Felix Staffelbaker here. Wanted to make a video because people aren't ready for a US dollar default. They don't even know it's coming. But this just happened on February 7th and everybody is getting stirred up who has been knowing that this is coming. And the Bank of America CEO, even the second largest bank in America, is preparing for a US dollar default. And so Fed official, this is from Forbes, and it's always interesting to go through things like Forbes, things like Time, things like Associated Press, that are usually almost direct mouthpieces from these types of multinational NGO groups that are basically operating and functioning as governments and controlling everything, the means of everything. So everyone just gave them power. Anyway, here's the Forbes headline. Fed official warns U.S. debt default would be catastrophe as Bank of America gears up for the worst, by Jonathan Ponciano. Federal Reserve official and financial terrorist Neel Kashkari on Tuesday reiterated the Treasury's concern over the nation's looming debt ceiling crisis, and though he's unsure how likely a potential default could be, the central banker's comments come one day after Bank of America's chief said the institution is gearing up for the worst. Speaking to CNN on Tuesday morning, financial terrorist Kashkari said he absolutely agrees with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen that a U.S. default would be a catastrophe if Congress fails to raise or suspend the debt limit by June. The limit was breached on January 19, forcing the Treasury to undergo extraordinary measures to help pay its obligations for a few more months. Though financial terrorist Kashkari stopped short of saying whether the debt debacle now seems riskier than the conundrum that sparked the market correction in 2011, he reiterated Yellen's warnings last month when she cautioned a default would cause irreparable harm to the economy, endangering basic government functions and weakening the dollar and stocks. I'm hopeful that the political leaders in Washington come up with a solution, financial terrorist Kashkari said, adding that Congress, currently split with a Republican-led House, Democrat Senate, need to come together to reach a solution. The comments come one day after Bank of America, Brian Moynihan, said hope is not a strategy. As he noted, the bank has already started to prepare for the possibility of a default by shoring up liquidity and setting up payment waivers for clients who get paid by the government. Moynihan acknowledged lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have stated that they don't intend to risk a default in negotiations over the debt limit, but he echoed concern from the experts and the brinkmanship that could rattle markets, saying, right now we've got to get past these issues. A crucial quote, there is a temptation to brush off the developing debt limit drama thinking it will end as others have, with lawmakers coming to terms and signing legislation just in time. Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi wrote in a note to clients last month, that would be a mistake given heightened dysfunction in Congress, odds that lawmakers blunder either out of intent or ineptness are uncomfortably high. What to watch for. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has repeatedly pledged that the U.S. will avoid a debt default, but it's unclear what compromise Democrats and Republicans will reach to prevent one. In the deal to elect him as Speaker last month, McCarthy promised that Congress would not agree to raise the debt ceiling without significant spending cuts. Some Republicans have floated raising the age for Medicare and Social Security eligibility in an effort to reduce federal deficit, an idea the Senate Democrats would reject. According to the Treasury, Congress has either raised, extended, or revised the definition of the debt limit, which caps the amount of debt the Treasury can issue to fund government obligations, 78 times since 1960, and it hasn't yet failed to act on the issue when necessary. Still, many economists have warned the debt limit debacle this year could be one of the worst since 2011 crisis that tanked the S&P by 15%. Government spending deadlines will pose a greater risk this year than they have for a decade, Goldman Sachs economists told clients last month, pointing to a divided Congress as a complicating factor for crucial legislation. With an extremely thin margin of Republican control in the House, 2 votes by the Senate. The government, and there's just pretty much the end of it. So it's just saying that there's certain people who, like when COVID-19 first was going down in February and March, people didn't think that it was very much or anything was going to happen. But there were certain people who were saying, hey, everything's about to change. Everything's about to be different this time. Like, we know it's been the same every time, but now things are different. And that same type of vibe is, like, happening. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but we definitely are in and due for a U.S. economy collapse, a dollar collapse, a dollar default, all of it. Global economic disaster. Max Payne. I mean, that's how you get to a global governance structure with a political leader and a religious leader run the show, and then you can literally set up the world for the abomination of desolation. So I just want to put that out there. Stoffel Baker out.